On an important bathing day during the 1960 Mela, the devotees had gone for their bath in the Ganges, returning late in the day. After the regular sitting in the evening and the meal, everyone retired and slept wherever a bed was available. Some were sleeping on the outer veranda. Siddhi Didi and some other ladies from Nainital went to the roof to sleep. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Tularam started shouting, waking up the whole house. Babaji has gone away. I did not understand but came out of bed and found Tularam and Siddhi Didi standing at the door. They caught hold of my hands and said, "We must go immediately." We ran down the street and found a rickshaw puller sleeping in his cart and got him going. Siddhi Didi briefly narrated that half an hour ago, two rickshaws had come to the gate and a man got down from one and entered the house. After a few minutes, she saw three persons leave. It was full moonlit night. She had seen everything clearly, but it was as if she was in a trance and could not understand what was happening. Only a little while later did she realize who had left. Reaching the train station, we saw Babaji sitting outside on a bench by himself. He asked why we had come. How had we known that he had left? Tularam said, "Baba, in the future, please do not leave the house without informing Dada. It is so very painful for him." While we were talking, Kanhaiya Lal and Ram Prakash came back from having their tea. We put Babaji and Ram Prakash on the train. On our way home, Kanhaiya Lal narrated Babaji's escape. Babaji had told him to come in the middle of the night with two rickshaws and to tell no one. When Kanhaiya Lal arrived, Ram Prakash was fast asleep. Babaji actually lifted him up and made him stand. We could not understand why there was so secrecy. Within a few days, Babaji returned and stayed for more than a month. One day, after distributing the morning prasad to the devotees, he came to the library room and told me to make a bed on the floor. He said he was not feeling well and would rest. Nobody should disturb him. I asked, "Baba, are you really feeling cold? Should I get another blanket?" So I did, although it was already the end of March and quite warm. He had the doors and windows all bolted and then asked Tularam to put locks on the doors from the outside and not to give the keys to anyone. In the beginning, we took it to be another of his Leelas. The devotees assembled for darshan as usual, but upon hearing the story, they all waited outside. By noon, the whole veranda and lawn were full, everyone waiting anxiously for him to come out. The ladies from Nainital and some others sat in Babaji's room facing the door to the library and started singing kirtan. This continued all day. Everyone was in great suspense. The mood had changed from one of light-heartedness at his usual dalliance at one of deep anxiety. Many persons had tried to peep into the room or put their ears to the door, but with no success. It was late in the afternoon. Ma, Mausi Ma, Didi, and Siddhi Didi were sitting in the courtyard, cutting vegetables and discussing the whole thing in a distressed mood. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Babaji is running away." We came and saw that Baba had scaled the wall and was walking fast down the road behind the house. Many of us followed him. He entered a devotee's house not far away, sat down, and began talking as if nothing unusual had happened. To every question he answered, "I don't know." When it was said that the room must have been opened for Baba, Tularam furiously replied that he had kept the keys with him at all times. Someone then went to look at the doors and windows and returned to say that they were all still locked. After some time, we all returned with him. Mosima said that before Babaji had jumped the wall, she had seen him sitting in the garden near the bushes. He said, "Mosima, I am hiding. You must not tell anybody." After she returned away was when he jumped the wall and was seen. Later that night, when Babaji had retired to his room, we gathered together to discuss the episode. To us, this was the first big miracle. The only conclusion we could arrive at was that this was an indication of Baba's superhuman power. Only His Grace had allowed us to see it. There was an interesting interlude during the 1966 Kumbh Mela. Babaji had a camp and a bhandara feeding large numbers of persons every day. Babaji used to visit the camp daily, but stayed in our house at night. One evening, there were a large number of devotees waiting for Babaji in the house. As soon as he returned, they all surrounded him. I was busy attending to some other things when I heard a lot of noise coming from his room. Someone came and brought me in to witness the fun. The whole room was packed. Babaji was leaning on his pillow in one of the well known poses. An old lady was sitting in a corner trying to speak, but Babaji would not allow her to narrate her story. He kept repeating continuously, "Ma, I was dead, but I was born in the mountains again." I was very anxious to hear her story. Later, after she had spent some time with Babaji, she came out and we accosted her. She narrated her story. She belonged to the Farukabad district where Babaji was very well known. Her father had been a great devotee of Babaji, who had visited her father in his home for more than 20 years. When she had last met Babaji at her father's home, she was 9 years old. That was 64 years ago, and at that time he was already well past middle age. She did not remember ever having seen him wearing a blanket. She had come to Allahabad for the Mela. When her host, a devotee of Babaji, told her that Neem Kroli Baba was there, she could not believe it. She said, "What are you talking about? Neem Kroli Baba must have been dead long back." She had come to verify the statement of her host that Neem Karoli Baba was here. When she saw him, she could not believe her eyes. This is when Babaji said that he was dead and had been born again. Whenever such a person would come and try to tell stories, Babaji would say, if you talk about me, I shall go away." But another time a devotee came when Babaji was in Allahabad. Babaji was sitting in the hall, and as soon as that person came, Babaji said to him, "You are bringing shame and disgrace to my name. You are exposing me. I shall not come to your house again." He went on shouting in this way, and the poor fellow was feeling very upset. He was a great devotee and had known Baba for a long time. His idea had been that all the old devotees should collect their reminiscences and make a pamphlet of them. He had written to many devotees and they had begun sending some of their stories. Babaji knew what was going on and so began abusing him.